Welcome to the ILTS Social Studies, K-6, 409, practice test, proudly presented by TeacherPreps.com. In this lesson, you will complete 25 practice questions to check your readiness for your upcoming exam. Before you begin, make sure to click the link at the top of the description down below so we can follow along with the free PDF version of these questions. Question 1. A first-grade class takes a walk and notices city workers filling potholes and repairing a public water fountain in the park. The teacher asks which basic purpose of government these actions serve. Which response most accurately describes the purpose shown? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D. The government is providing public services that residents share. Filling potholes and fixing a public fountain are examples of providing public services that residents share, a core purpose of government. D. Settling a fence line dispute describes managing conflict rather than delivering a service. A. Signing a trade agreement describes relations with other communities, which the roadwork does not do. B. Holding a vote describes how leaders are chosen, not the upkeep the workers are performing here. C. Question 2. A fourth-grade teacher wants students to understand why a class leader has the recognized right to make certain decisions about a shared project after a class election. Which explanation best captures why that leader holds legitimate authority? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A. The classmates picked the leader, so the group agreed to that leader's decisions. Authority in a democracy rests on the consent of the governed, so the leader holds a recognized right because the group agreed to that leader's decisions by choosing the leader. A. Giving a convincing speech may earn admiration, but persuasiveness itself grants no agreed power to decide for others. B. Having strong friendships is personal popularity that confers no recognized authority over classmates. C. Bringing supplies is a contribution that gives no legitimate power over the group. D. Question 3. A fifth-grade teacher wants students to identify which text, delivered during the Civil War, reaffirmed the founding ideals that all people are created equal and that government belongs to the people. Which choice most accurately identifies that text? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B. The Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address, delivered during the Civil War, reaffirmed the ideals of human equality and government of the people, by the people, for the people. The Declaration of Independence first proclaimed these ideals in 1776, decades before the Civil War, so it was not delivered in that era. The Bill of Rights is the set of amendments protecting freedoms such as speech and religion rather than a wartime restatement of equality. The Articles of Confederation set up an early national plan of government and did not express these ideals. Question 4. A third-grade teacher suspects that a student left the reading corner in disorder and, before assigning a consequence, gives the student notice of the concern along with a chance to explain what happened. Which democratic principle does this practice best illustrate? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D, due process. Giving the student notice and a chance to explain before a consequence reflects due process. D, the guarantee of set procedures before a decision. Majority rule. A, settles public questions by more than half of a group, which no vote is doing here. Federalism. B, divides power across levels of government and does not fit a single classroom decision. Consensus building. C, means a whole group agrees on one plan, which the teacher is not seeking in this fairness situation. Question 5. A fifth-grade teacher uses a case study in which officials must decide whether a rule was applied correctly under the higher law. Which branch of the national government does this task best belong to? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A, the judicial branch. Deciding whether a rule was applied correctly under the higher law is judicial review, the role of the judicial branch. A. The executive branch carries out and enforces rules, but does not interpret whether they were applied correctly, a real duty that is not this task. B. The legislative branch writes new rules, which is also not this task. C. The military operates as part of the executive branch and defends the nation. It is not one of the three constitutional branches and does not review how rules are applied. D. Question 6. A fifth-grade class role plays a lawmaking game in which the player holding the executive role can reject a proposed rule the lawmaking group already passed, and the group can then override that rejection. The teacher asks which principle this back-and-forth restraint best shows. Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C, checks. When one branch can restrain another's completed action and that branch can push back in return, this mutual restraint shows checks and balances. C. Separation of powers divides distinct duties among the branches. But this scenario shows branches actively limiting each other rather than merely holding separate duties. A. Rule of law means leaders and residents alike follow the same written rules. B. Popular sovereignty means governing authority comes from the people, which does not describe one branch restraining another. D. Question 7. A fourth-grade class sorts government services by the level that provides each one. A student holds a card that reads, "Printing the nation's money." Which level of government best matches that card? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B, federal government. Producing the country's currency is a nationwide task handled by the federal government. B, for the whole nation. Local government. A, handles nearby everyday services such as trash pickup and parks, not national currency. State government. C, runs schools and licensing rather than making money. County government. D, keeps records such as land deeds and runs local courts, so it does not match the card either. Question 8. A second-grade teacher notices that during sharing time, students listen quietly while a classmate speaks and let each person finish before responding. The teacher wants to name the citizen responsibility this specific practice builds. Which choice most accurately names it? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D, respecting others' rights. Letting a classmate speak and finish honors that person's freedom to be heard, which builds the responsibility of respecting others' rights. D. Following classroom procedures concerns obeying set routines, which is broader than the specific act of honoring one speaker's turn. A. Doing one's assigned duties means completing one's own tasks, which is not what listening to a peer shows. B. Working together as a team means combining effort toward a shared goal, but the students are protecting a single speaker's turn rather than joining on one task. C. Question 9. A third-grade class disagrees about how to use a shared classroom rug during free time. After discussion, one group gives up the morning slot while the other group gives up the afternoon slot, so both get a turn. Which civic skill does this outcome best illustrate? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A, compromise. Each group accepting a partial win so both can agree is a compromise. A, where each side sacrifices something to reach a settlement. Majority rule, B, would have a larger group outvote a smaller one, which is not what the two groups did. Consensus, C, means everyone fully agrees on one shared plan, but here each side surrendered part of what it wanted rather than agreeing on a single position. Delegation, D, means handing the decision to a chosen representative, which the groups did not do. Question 10. A fifth-grade class includes an English learner and a student with a writing disability. The teacher wants to assess whether each student understands how a bill becomes a law without lowering the civics expectation. Which assessment approach would be most effective? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C. Having students arrange step cards in order and describe each transition to the teacher aloud. Arranging step cards in order and describing each transition aloud has students reconstruct and justify the full lawmaking sequence, which assesses genuine civics understanding while placing light demands on writing, so the standard stays intact for both the English learner and the student with a writing disability. Matching pre-labeled steps to a printed flowchart supplies the wording, so students can succeed by pairing given text to positions without reconstructing or reasoning about the sequence. Writing a paragraph introduces a composing demand that can mask civics knowledge for a student with a writing disability and for an English learner. Reading an article and listing the steps in writing adds reading comprehension and writing demands that can obscure what students actually understand about lawmaking. Question 11. A fourth-grade class has enough time in the school garden to plant either tomatoes or peppers before the season ends, and after discussion the class votes to plant tomatoes. A teacher wants students to name the opportunity cost of that decision. Which response most accurately describes the opportunity cost? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A. The peppers the class chose not to plant when it decided to use the time for tomatoes. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative given up, so the peppers the class did not plant name it exactly. The cost of seeds and water is the price paid, which is a different idea from the foregone choice. The tomatoes are what the class selected rather than what it sacrificed. The discussion time and effort describe activity spent, not the single best option the class passed up. Question 12. A fifth-grade class learns that a late frost damaged much of the apple crop grown near their town, leaving far fewer apples for sale this fall. A teacher asks the class to predict what will happen to the price of local apples. Which prediction is best supported by supply and demand? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B. The price will rise because fewer apples remain for the same buyers. When supply falls while demand holds steady, price rises. So fewer available apples for the same set of buyers push the price up, which is answer B. A smaller supply does not lead sellers to cut prices. Scarcity raises them. So option A reverses the rule. Price does not stay flat when the quantity available shrinks and buyers still want apples, so option C is wrong. A frost that reduces the crop affects supply, not buyers' desire for apples, so option D misapplies the concept. Question 13. A third-grade class visits a small bakery and lists the flour, the wooden shelves, the oven, and the plot of land the bakery stands on. A teacher wants students to identify which item on the list is a capital resource. Which choice most accurately identifies the capital resource? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A. The oven the bakery bought once and uses each day to bake its dough into finished loaves. Capital resources are the manufactured tools, machines, and equipment used to produce goods, so the oven, which transforms dough into finished loaves, is the capital resource. The flour is a raw material consumed in production, not a manufactured tool that produces, so it tempts students who confuse inputs with capital. The shelves are manufactured, but they display finished loaves rather than being used to produce them, so they tempt students who overlook the production requirement. The land is a natural resource, not a manufactured tool or machine, even though it is used each day. Question 14. A sixth-grade class studies a group of neighbors who write letters to their state lawmakers asking for a new bike path, but who do not run any of their members for office. A teacher asks the class to classify this group. Which classification most accurately describes the group? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C. An interest group. An interest group unites people to influence policy on a shared issue and runs no candidates of its own, which fits neighbors pressing for a bike path, so answer C is best. A political party, A, runs candidates for office, which this group does not do. A bureaucracy, B, is the set of government agencies that carry out laws, not citizens making a request. A labor union, D, organizes workers over workplace conditions rather than lobbying lawmakers for a neighborhood bike path. Question 15. A fifth-grade class learns that in the United States most prices are set by buyers and sellers, yet the government still collects taxes, builds roads, and sets safety rules for businesses. A teacher asks students to name the type of economy this describes. Which response most accurately describes it? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B. A mixed economy. A mixed economy blends private markets that set most prices with a government that taxes, spends, and regulates, which matches the United States, so answer B is best. A command economy. A. Has planners set prices while the state directs production, which does not fit a nation where buyers and sellers decide. A market economy. C. Leaves out the taxes, roads, and rules the government provides in the scenario. A traditional economy. D. Relies on long-standing custom rather than the priced, regulated markets described. Question 16. A fourth-grade class in central Illinois learns that farmers near their school sell much of their soybean harvest to buyers in other countries. A teacher asks students to name what these soybeans are in terms of trade. Which response most accurately names them? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D. Exports, because the soybeans are goods sold from this country to buyers in another one. An export is a good sold from one country to buyers in another, so Illinois soybeans sold abroad are exports. An import is a good brought in from another country, which reverses the direction of the sale. A tariff is a tax placed on traded goods, not the goods themselves. A subsidy is a payment to producers, which does not name what the shipped soybeans are. Question 17. A third-grade teacher wants students to learn how their neighborhood changed over the past century in a way that reflects inquiry rather than memorization. Which activity would be most effective for reaching this goal? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A. Having students compare old and current photographs of their street to explain what changed over time. Comparing old and current photographs to explain change has students investigate primary sources and build an explanation from evidence, which is the heart of inquiry. Listening to a guest speaker exposes students to first-hand testimony, but they receive the account passively rather than analyzing and interpreting sources themselves, so the reasoning step is missing. Reading a textbook list gives students facts without examining sources themselves. Sorting caption cards and writing the sequence presents finished conclusions instead of asking students to work out how the neighborhood changed. Question 18. A fifth-grade class runs a pretend household with a set monthly income and must decide how to spend it, facing bills for food and rent along with a new video game they would enjoy. A teacher asks the class for the wisest budgeting choice. Which choice most accurately reflects sound budgeting? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B, paying the food and rent bills first and setting part of the remainder toward the game. A sound budget covers needs before wants and keeps spending within income, so paying food and rent in full first and setting part of the remainder toward the game reflects wise planning. B. Paying only part of the bills leaves essentials unpaid while money goes to a want, risking a shortfall on rent. A. Setting money toward the game before the bills treats a want as a priority over essentials, which may leave food and rent unpaid. C. Splitting the income in half funds a want equally with essentials that likely cost more than half the income, again risking a shortfall. D. Question 19. A sixth-grade class studies how the growth of railroads through Chicago in the 19th century affected the region. A teacher wants students to explain why this development is treated as a turning point. Which explanation most accurately captures its significance? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C. It made the city the central hub linking Western goods to national markets. A turning point matters because it reshaped what followed, and the railroads made Chicago the central hub linking Western goods to national markets. C. Faster shipping of meat and grain to a few eastern cities names a real but narrower effect, not the national significance. A. Saying farms depended less on distant markets reverses the wider connection the rails created. B. Claiming factories arrived while older routes carried the same goods denies the very change the railroads produced. D. Question 20. A second-grade class includes an English learner who understands the community helper's lesson but struggles to write full sentences on a paper test. A teacher wants to assess this student fairly while holding the social studies expectation. Which approach would be most effective? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D. Having the student match each helper's picture to a picture of its job. Fair support changes the format so the student can show the full concept, and matching each helper's picture to a picture of its job keeps the standard while easing the language load. D. Naming each helper aloud checks who they are, but not what each one does, so it holds part of the standard. A. Answering yes or no lets a guess pass as understanding. B. Pointing to the helper the teacher names checks recognition of the person, but never asks the student to connect that helper to the work they do, so it drops the heart of the standard. C. Question 21. A third-grade class describes their town as being just south of a large lake and a short drive west of the state line. Which type of location does this description most accurately describe? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C, regional location, and because the town sits within a shared farming. Placing a town by its position near a lake and a state line locates it by its relationship to other places, which is what relative location means, so answer B fits. Absolute location relies on a fixed coordinate pair, and no latitude or longitude appears in the description, so option A does not apply. The description names nearby features rather than a shared trait area, so option C wrongly labels it regional. Site location refers to features present at the place itself, but here the town is defined by outside landmarks, so option D does not apply. Question 22. A fifth-grade teacher wants students to understand what a line of latitude measures on a globe. Which explanation most accurately describes latitude? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is A, lines running east to west that measure distance from the equator toward a pole. Latitude lines run east to west and measure how far a place lies from the equator toward a pole, which is the defining feature of latitude. A. Lines running north to south measuring distance from the prime meridian describe longitude instead. B. Running east to west, but measuring from the prime meridian mixes latitude's direction with longitude's reference line. C. Running north to south, but measuring from the equator pairs longitude's direction with latitude's reference line. D. Question 23. A fourth grade class wants to compare the true relative sizes of continents near the poles with those near the equator. Which tool would give students the most accurate comparison? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is D. A world map drawn on an equal area projection. A map drawn on an equal area projection preserves the proportions of land areas, so students can compare continent sizes fairly, which is answer D. A Mercator wall map, A, stretches the polar regions across its rectangular grid and exaggerates their area. A satellite photo taken above one pole, B, crowds the far continents onto the rim and distorts the comparison. A political map shaded by country boundaries, C, shows borders rather than land area, so the equal area map gives the fairest comparison. Question 24. A fifth grade class investigates why Chicago grew into a busy center for shipping and rail traffic. Which explanation most accurately describes the geographic reason for its growth? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is C. Its position beside Lake Michigan gave it a harbor that served as a crossroads for trade. Chicago sits beside Lake Michigan near the farmland of the interior, so its harbor served as a crossroads that drew trade and drove its growth. Crediting dry, sandy soil for brick-making invents a cause the region's geography does not support. Crediting coal and iron deposits invents a mining cause the geography does not support. Crediting for trading in a cool climate names an activity that never anchored the city's growth. So the lakeside harbor best explains the growth. Question 25. Use the map key to answer the question that follows. A second grade student sees a wide blue band running through the middle of the map and needs to name the feature it stands for. Which step should the student take first to answer accurately? Pause the video and select the best answer. The correct answer is B. Match the blue color of the band to the matching swatch listed in the key. To name a feature by its color, the student should match the blue band to the blue swatch in the key, which the key pairs with river. Tracing the band toward the edge shows its direction, but not what the color means. Counting how many blue bands appear tells nothing about the feature the color stands for. Comparing the band's width to other areas measures size rather than identifying the feature. So matching the color to the key is the correct first step. Nice work. You have just completed the first 25 questions from our ILTS Social Studies K-6 409 practice test, but the real exam has 30 multiple choice questions. Invest in your success and make passing simple by enrolling into our complete preparation program from TeacherPreps.com. Keep up the hard work. You have got this.